So I'm going to start by drawing a 1 inch margin on the top of our paper like this. This will represent our starting line, and also 1 inch margin at the side of the paper this way. This also will represent the center fold of our trouser and also the starting line. So after doing that, I'm going to be removing 2 inches out of the line to mark out the waist to the hips measurements. That 2 inches we deducted from the tape measure represent the width of our short waistband, and I'm marking the crotch line depth, which is gotten by dividing the hip circumference by 4 inches plus 1 inch for ease. I'm also going to put my tape measure 2 inches away from the starting line to measure the short length, the total length for our short, and I'm going to rule that out with a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to be adding my hemming allowance of 2 inches downwards like this, and I'll be ruling it out with my straight line. So we have our original hemming line and the allowance below it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to impute the hip measurement divided by 4 on the waistline, because it's going to be an elastic waist line, and I'll be replicating that same measurement, the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease. I'll be replicating that measurement on the hip line and on the crouch length line like so. So it is time to do the crouch extension for the front pattern of our shorts, and I'll be dividing my hip circumference by 20. Whatever you get, you'll be putting it there on the line, and on that angle there I'll be going upward by 1 inch like this, and I'll be using the curve of my ruler to connect it from that point on the crouch depth line towards the hip line like this, and that's, you have it, your crotch, it's being made for the front. Now I'll just be extending that line downwards for a palazzo short, but if you don't want a palazzo short, you can just go inwards on the hem line by 1 inch or 2 inches depending on what you want. So that is all for the front waistline, and at the waist there I'll be coming downwards by ½ inch like this, and I'll be connecting it towards the side of our shorts like this, and I'll be imputing our sewing allowance of ½ inch all round except for the hem line of the shorts. I'll be putting ½ inch all round on the side as well, like this, and also on the new waistline I'll be putting in ½ inch sewing allowance, and I'll be connecting it like this. So I'll be cutting out my front pattern for the shorts. This will be used in drafting the back pattern. So before I go ahead to cut it out, I'm going to fold in the original hem line this way, so that when I'm cutting it on the fabric and sewing it, it will be easy for the hem line to fold easily. It's not going to have a funny look. So that is it. I'm going to be cutting it like this, folded inwards. I'll be cutting it out this way, and I'll be cutting it out this way. So we are done with the front pattern of our short. It's time to draft the back pattern of it. So we're going to start by marking downwards 2 inches from the top of our paper this way, and I'll be ruling that with a straight line using my ruler. This space that we created would be the accommodation, or the space for your butt, so that when you bend, your bump will not be showing. So at the edge also I came in by 2 inches, and I am ruling that with my ruling it out with my ruler to create a straight line, and I'm going to place my front pattern of my short on these margin lines like this carefully. And right now I'm just replicating the lines of the front pattern on the paper for the back pattern. So I'm replicating the hem line allowance, the crotch line depth, then the hip line as well like this. This will serve as guidelines when we are drafting the back pattern of the short. Now I'm going to look for the midpoint of that crotch line for the front there, and I'm going to be marking it like this. After marking it, I'm going to be using my ruler and to rule it upward this way, to divide it like this. After doing that, I'm still going to look for the midpoint of this point, this half of our waistline, and I'm going to be marking it like this. After doing that, I'm going to extend that point upwards like this. So the butt height in summary is the allowance given to your back pattern of your trouser to allow your bum to be covered when you bend or when you sit. And this is gotten by subtracting your hip circumference division away from your thigh circumference division. I'm going to measure the total measurement of the waist for the front pattern of our short, and I'll be putting that exact measurement on the waistline for the back like this, and I'll be using my ruler to create it like this. So that is the waistline for the back pattern. Now it's time to do our crotch measurement. As you can see, I just marked that point out on my paper, and I'll be going downward by ½ inch. I do this so that there will be a kind of relaxation at that crotch area when you sew your trouser together. I'll be replicating the hip measurement for the front on the back hip line as well, and mind you, every measurement will be taken from the sewing allowance of the front, which means that indirectly we've added it to the back. And right now I'm putting my crotch measurement for the back, which is gotten by dividing your hip circumference by 10, and I would be connecting these 3 points together. Guys, please ignore this first curve, it was a mistake, and I will be using another color of marker. This line is a mistake, guys. So I'll be using my orange marker to draw in the new back curve. So I'm just marking it from the crotch line. I'll be connecting it to the hip line and finally to the butt height like this. So I'll be using the slightest part of my curve ruler to connect the crotch line to the hip line like this, and I'll be using my straight ruler to connect it to the butt height, and I'll be curving that angle out to give it a smooth curve there. Now I'll be connecting it downwards with a straight line. If you do not want it to be bagging, you can just go inwards by 2 inches at the hem line or 1 inch depending on your preference. Now I'll be using my ruler to rule out the lines properly like this. I'll be ruling out the hip line like this and the crotch depth line like this. I'm just going to label it one after the other. So we will not be using that old part, we'll be using the orange line while cutting. We will not be using the green curve. So it's time to cut it out. I'll be cutting it out this way. And before cutting out the sides, I'll be folding in the original hemline so that when I cut it this way and cut it on my fabric, it's going to be easy to fold. And I'll be cutting it out. So you see, guys, I didn't cut out the first green line. I'm cutting it on the orange line, and I'm cutting the waist line for the back, and we are done with our trouser patterns. This is the front and this is for the back pattern. We'll be cutting 2 pieces each for each pattern. So I have cut out my fabric. I'm using a navy blue, I think it's a cotton fabric, a lightweight cotton fabric, and I'll be weaving the edges all round. And remember, we will not be using an inseam pocket, we'll be using the bellows pocket. So I'm just going to weave all edges round to prevent my fabric from fraying. So I'll be starting the sewing of the shorts by placing one side of the front on top of one side of the back and stitching along the sides alone using my sewing allowance like this, right side facing themselves. Now it's time to draft out the bellow pockets for these shorts, and I'm using 14 inches of length and 8 inches of width on a fold this way, and I'll be cutting it out. When that is done, I'm going to fold it like this to create two folded squares, and I'll be dividing it into two equal parts like this. When that is done, I'm going to take the joined pieces of our shorts like this, and I'm going to iron it out. I'm going to open up the seam lines, and I'm going to iron it neatly. By doing this, you are already creating a smooth spot for where your pocket will be placed. So after doing that, I'm going to iron out the cut out fabric for our pocket this way on a fold, and I would also use my fabric pen to mark out the distance, the width of the pleat we'll be using for our bellow pocket. So I'm just marking out 2 inches this way from the center fold like this, and I'll be doing it for the second part as well. So after marking, I'm going to stitch along that markings with a straight line. And after that is done, I'm going to be opening it up flat, and I'll be ironing it this way. So after doing that, I discovered that the pocket was too wide. So from the center, I marked 4 inches on both sides so that I'll be able to trim off the excess. So the next thing to do is to measure 3 sides of the square pockets like this using your tape measure, and whatever measurement you get, that will be what you'll be using to cut out your strip. And I will advise you to add about 2 to 3 inches allowance to the length of the strip. So I'll be using the length I got to cut out the fabric by 3 inches width, and I'll be cutting two of this fabric. So before joining the side to the pocket, I'm going to quickly hem the top of the pocket, and I would now be taking the strip for the sides of the pocket this way, and I'll be hemming the top edge this way. After hemming it, I'll be attaching it to the 3 sides of the pocket carefully. Then after doing that, I'm going to give my pocket a very good press, and as you can see, I've gone ahead to weave the inside to give it a clean look, and I've also ironed the edge of the strip so that it will be easy for me to fold in and stitch. So right now I went upward from the hem line of the short by 4 inches, and I'm placing my pockets on that 4 inches, then pinning it down, and make sure you are aligning the middle of your pocket with the side seam of the short to give it an equal look. Now I'm just going to take my time to arrange the pockets carefully, tucking in the edges well, and you're going to make use of your pins here so that everything will be in place. So you have to take your time to arrange it till you are contented with the look. Do not rush. So I am done arranging it, and I'm contented with how it looks. I'm going to run my stitch at the edge of the strip deck neatly and carefully. So when that is done, this is how our pockets look like. You can see it's beginning to take shape and the form of a bellow pocket. And before going ahead, I would be measuring like the distance from one edge to the other of the pocket so that I can create a cover for it. So right now I'm just going to use my tape measure to measure from one end to the other, and I got 7 inches for the length of the covers. So I'll be taking a piece of my fabric to cut out the cover for the bellow pockets, and I'll be measuring the length that I got plus 1 inch for stitching allowance, and I'll be using the width of 3 inches including my sewing allowance. So I'll be cutting 2 of it to turn it this way, and I've already sewn the pockets. It's time to attach it to the short. I went upward from the top of the bellow pocket by 1 inch, and I'm going to pin it down this way and stitch along the edge there with my sewing allowance. So when I stitch it, it's going to be like that. I've gone ahead to top stitch it as well so that it can lay flat on the short. So as you can see right now, our bellow pocket is ready, and it's time to do the short. I'll be sewing along that crotch with my sewing allowance of ½ inch. After sewing along the short there, so after sewing the crotch depth of the short, I'm going to align it, open it up and align the inseam area of the shorts like this, making sure that the midpoints are aligning and pinning them together. The inseam area is that inner thigh area of your legs. So that is what I'm going to sew with my sewing allowance of ½ inch, and I'm going to turn this right inside out. I've already sewn it here, so I'm going to turn it inside out to the right side so you can see. And guys, do not forget to iron as you sew to give it a very clean and good finish. You give whatever outfit you are sewing, it is advisable to iron as you sew. So right now I'm just going to iron in my M allowance of 2 inch inward this way and stitch it for both legs of the short. And after that is done, I'm going to use my tape measure to measure the entire waist circumference of my shorts, starting from the midpoint of the front or for the back, anyone you choose. So I'm going to measure it all through round this way in order to cut our waistband. Right now I've cut out my waistband. I used the length total circumference of my waistband plus ½ inch for sewing the edges together, and I cut it on the fold this way for 4.5 inch. 4.5 inch. That is, when you fold it, you're going to have 2.5. So half will be the allowance you'll be using to attach to your shorts. Now I have just interfaced that edge there because I want to be using eyelets. I want to use eyelets for it. So I have just sewn the waistband together at the edges using the ½ inch, and I'm going to impute my eyelets before attaching it to my shorts. I'm going to impute the eyelet. The eyelet is there because I'll be using rope as well as elastic for the waist of my short. So this is how I use my eyelet. If you want to see a detailed tutorial on how to fix it, please put in the description box so that I can show you how to use this plier to use your eyelets. So after fixing my eyelet, this is how it looks like. I'm now going to align it with my shorts. I'm going to be placing that eyelet area directly to the midpoint of my front part side of my shorts this way. I'm going to align it and pin it intact so that it will not move around. So you can see me trying to align both midpoints together, right side facing each other, and I'm going to stitch all through the waistline. You can see I've already done it. I've stitched all through using my sewing allowance, and I'm going to fold over the waistband this way and fold in the edge, but I'm going to leave some spaces at that side so that I'll be able to pass through my elastic. So I'll be measuring the half waist measurement circumference of my shorts this way. As you can see, I'm just measuring it so that I'll be able to cut out my elastic plus sewing allowance of ½ inch, which I've already done here, and I'm going to pass it through that space I left there. And this is how it looks like. I've already imputed my ropes through the eyelets, and my Bellow pocket, I've already installed my snaps to it. You can decide to use buttons depending on what you have and what you can do. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to like it on your notification bell, so when I post my next tutorial you'll be aware of it. Bye.